or does it remain to be seen?
Definitely remains to be seen, but I think that's kind of the easy answer there to take. Definitely with the Cavaliers. So the way I looked at this is I looked at their contracts, maybe just to lead off with something. I do not like the way the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to have to keep that. Let's say they do win this year or even next year. I just don't see them being able to keep everyone and keep that same team. Oklahoma City has a little bit of a better outlook or projection with their contracts and where they sit. So if they win this year, it is possible out of those two that they could win a couple more. But again, with both these teams, I have to see it first. Neither team's even been to a finals. Oklahoma City, they're still very young. There has to be a maturation process there. I don't think Donovan Mitchell is the guy to take a team to a championship per se. He's got a great team around him. Maybe he gets it done this year. He's got decent odds on paper to do so. But I'm going to take the easy position here. Nicky bad takes as usual. And I'm just going to say, no, neither of these guys have arrived or are ready, nor do I see them winning 3 in a row anytime soon.
All right. Jay, you seem you got something on the tip of your tongue. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think I'm looking at the comments. And I think there's two conversations going on here. First, define the parameters of what is a dynasty. Like what do we anticipate, expect, or like how would we term or explain what dynasty means to each of us, I guess, is probably part one of the discussion. And then part two is, do we see that kind of possibilities for some team that's in the NBA today? Let me just clarify for everyone out there on the chain. Of course, we're not saying any teams right now are dynasties in this current iteration of the NBA, because the two teams, or maybe even three, if you want to throw Boston into the mix, they're not qualifying. Whatever your definition is as dynasty, it's clear that no team as currently constituted in any kind of a run that they're on right now has met any of those like really even basic parameters. The conversation here is, do we see some team in the NBA right now that has the potential to become dynastic, that has the potential to be the next one in the step of the line of how many ever dynasties you want to say that there have been in NBA history? And I think definitively the answer to that is yes. I said before the season began that the Oklahoma... So I just need to pat myself on the back. Before the season began, I said the Oklahoma City Thunder would win the title this year and would, in fact, become the NBA's next dynasty. They check all the boxes, guys. Every rotational player in their top 12 in minutes per game right now are all under 30 years old, except for Alex Caruso, who is 30. So when I saw them add Hartenstein and Caruso in the offseason, I looked at a team that was second in net differential last year, a team that had the second best record in the NBA last year, that was the second rated defense last year. They went out and got better, much better with their offseason acquisitions. And look, they haven't even put it all together yet. Hartenstein's missed 17 of the 36 games so far. Alex Caruso has missed roughly 17 games so far as well. And Chet Holmgren has missed practically the whole season. He's only played in 10 games. And still, this team is on an absolute historical run. I see him lagging a little bit here, so I'm just going to finish my point and I'll turn it over. I hope the video quality isn't too bad for you guys. The Oklahoma City right now are the number one ranked defense in the NBA. Their SRS rating right now through about the halfway point of this season is 12.27. Now that encompasses what they're doing from a net differential standpoint in terms of how dominant they are, how much they're winning these games by, but it also factors in their strength of schedule to this point. The 12.27 SRS rating is substantially far and away the best in the NBA today. To put it in perspective, the next best rated SRS team in the conference, the Western Conference, is the Memphis Grizzlies at like 6.7. So the Thunder are twice as good as the next best team in the West. And if you want to look at Cleveland, who is on pace to win 73 games this year, but look at their SRS rating, it's only 9.55. Again, Oklahoma City right now is 12.27. No team ever in league history has finished above an 11.9 in season-long SRS. What I'm saying is this Thunder team is on a historic clip, and I see Robin is already chuckling and laughing at my stats and metrics. But what I'm saying is this team is young. They're the best defensive team in the NBA. They're killing people in differential. They're not overly reliant on three-point shooting. And they have one of the three best players on the planet Earth in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They have going to have three perennial all-stars here. Jalen Williams will be an all-star this year. And Chet Holmgren, when he's healthy and playing full seasons, will be an all-star. They have every component you need. And as I said, they're all young. Contractually, they all line up. And even their head coach, last year's coach of the year, Mark Dagnall, is only like 40. They are all, this is primed. We are at the beginning of something that is, they're going to run off a multitude of championships. And I'll turn it over at that. Sorry, I went a little over there.
It's all good. Yeah, and to clarify, it's not that these teams are dynasties right now, but that these are the potential dynasties moving forward, like Scap said. They obviously haven't done anything yet. So just to clarify, but when I meant they've arrived, it's that the potential dynasties of the future have arrived.
I mean, to be honest, I think the Celtics, not to hate on you, but I think the Celtics would be a more proper team to represent the East in a possible dynasty that could happen over the Cavs, in my opinion.
I agree. I think Boston's going to beat Cleveland, even though Cleveland's going to win 7. I don't know if they'll get 73. They're going to win 70. Cleveland will become the third team ever, joining the 95-96 Bulls and the 2014-15 Warriors. They will become the third team ever to win 70, and they're not even going to get out of their own conference, in my opinion. I think Boston will beat them in a 7-game series in the playoffs.
Robin, you look like you got something on the tip of your tongue, so I'll let you go. I was going to have Hoop Guy go before you, but
I was just waiting for the conversation to go. Let my man Hoop Guy get in there, man.
He was just tuning out Scap Attack until something interesting happened.
So,
all right, Hoop Guy, what do you got to say? Sorry, if I'm staring, it's lag.
No, it's cool. As much as I despise the Boston Celtics, I would have to agree with Nick and Scap. I mean, they are the champions until somebody beats them. But speaking on the Cavs and the Thunder, so when I hear dynasties, this is just me. Like, I'm not saying that this is definitive in stone. I think everybody has their own theory. I look at uninterrupted dominance, right? Can you successfully defend your title more than once? That's what I see as a dynasty. So if I'm looking at the Thunder, they have the young core. You know, they have that superstar. They have all the other supplementary players who can play or complement Chet and SGA. And then they also have that veteran savvy with Caruso, which came from my team. I'm not a hater. When they made the trade, I was like, hey, I would rather you go somewhere and win more titles because I know my organization didn't do anything. So I could see the Thunder potentially being a dynasty if they're able to keep their core together. So that's the only, I would say, conundrum that you could possibly face with a team like that. I don't think they have like any egos. I think they kind of understand, hey, our top two guys and then everybody else, you know, we're just going to fall in line and play off of them. Now, looking at the Cavs, I like what they're doing right now, but they haven't proven themselves in the playoffs. And I'm hoping that they do. Like, ironically, I'm really hoping that the Cleveland Cavaliers can prove themselves because the verdict on Donovan Mitchell is he can't come through in the clutch. I don't know. Maybe he can deliver this year, but until he does, it's kind of like, all right, we have to go with whatever your record says you are, to quote Bill Parcells. But if the Cavs were able to somehow win the championship, I'm just thinking like outside looking in, Mobley's probably going to want to go somewhere else and be the main guy. Darius Garland probably not going to want to share the spotlight. I mean, I'm just thinking of possibilities. And that could like potentially sabotage the organization. I could be wrong. But just looking at how they're presently constructed, they do have the pieces to be a dynasty. I just think the way that they came together if they see some success, you're gonna have some guys, get that ego like, well, hey, I can go somewhere else and be the man. Versus the Thunder, which I think those guys, like as a whole, just generally enjoy playing each other. Because another thing you have to factor in with the dynasty, right? You have to have the 3 C's. You have to have chemistry, you have to have continuity, and you have to have team cohesion. If you don't have that, you're definitely not going to be a dynasty. So just looking at those two, the way they're constructed right now, to sum it up, to me, a dynasty would be uninterrupted dominance. And if I had to tip my hat to whichever side, as of right now, I would have to go with the Thunder, just seeing how they're constructed, seeing how they play together. They put just as much effort on the defensive side as they do on the offensive side. Those guys are coachable. They really don't have any flaws. It's just, can they keep going and hit that maturation and, get over the hump, taste success? It's like, all right, hey, we're ready to do it again. So if I had to pick, it'd be the Thunder. I think the Cavs are a little bit more talented, but I also think that could be their downfall, seeing that if they do taste that success, those egos are going to take over, and it's just going to be another one and done. And then, hey, Cavaliers could have won 1 championship, possibly 2, but nah, I just don't see it. So with that being said, I'm going to pass the mic to my man, Sports and Fitness France.
Hey, real quick, before Robin screams at me for like 5 minutes, I just want to follow up real quick. Hoop God with a quick question. By your definition, the 80 Celtics, not a dynasty, and the Duncan Spurs, not a dynasty. Is that what you're saying? I just want to follow up based on your definition.
Yeah, so I'll say this. I think the Patriots done it that year. They went 3 and 4 years. So I can amend it to say, okay, if you can get at least three chips in a 4-year span, I'll consider that a dynasty too, because I think if you can win that one and then I don't know, maybe somebody gets injured, just anything could happen, but you come back and go back to back, I can see that being a dynasty too. But just to go 3 straight, that is impossible. Like, that's only what? Mike and his Lakers, Russell Celtics, Shaq and Kobe, and MJ Scotty. So yeah, I can amend it a little bit. Yeah, like, if you can
but
get
I'm saying Boston the Spurs never even won consecutive titles though.
Right. So by that definition, no, they wouldn't be a dynasty, but the media has their own, their own definition. Okay. So yeah,
I would count them as a dynasty. I think the strict notion you have to win 3 in a row. I know I said that, but I was kind of just using that because that's generally the rule. I would count the Spurs as a dynasty personally.
So let me ask.
I'm saying even 2 in a row. The Spurs never even went 2 in a row.
Right. Let me ask this.
That's okay with me. I think going to the finals, winning over a 10-year period like that, like I'm okay with calling them a dynasty.
Let me ask this question. I don't mind anybody calling the Spurs a dynasty, but what would be the category? Like, how did they pull it off? Is it like over an extended period of time? Is that how we would categorize them?
You asking me personally? Yeah, I think like you can't win 3 in 8 years. I don't think that's quite a dynasty, but when you win 5 and 8, or you're essentially winning every other year over like a 10-year period with the same core group of guys, that's also a key element there. I put San Antonio in.
Okay. I don't mind that.
You got to be winning every other year, right? At least for multiple championships, or you got to win like 3 in a row or 2 or 3 and 4, something like that.
Hey, we're not going to blame Kobe for stopping Tim Duncan for going back to back in 08. So
real fast, we're gonna do the super chats. Please, if you're super chatting right now, I just want to let y'all know I'm gonna acknowledge all the super chats, and we're gonna do it after AOH goes. We're just gonna go through the full round here. Robin, you've been waiting essentially since the beginning of this to rebut everybody. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't even know where to begin, man. You guys said a lot of stuff, man. You guys went back and forth a couple times. You guys were asking those questions. But let me start off with Hoop God and what he was getting to when he's talking about the continuous greatness, right? What he's talking about is what I'm always talking about. The key word, consistency. You're a dynasty if you're consistent. The Spurs are a dynasty because they were consistently great. They were consistently competitive. When you talk about being a dynasty, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. When we talk about consistency, you mentioned the Celtics. Are the Celtics a dynasty? They didn't win back-to-back championships. but they were consistently great. They were consistently on the verge of winning championships. How many finals were they in the 80s? That's continuous greatness. That's consistency. So that alludes you to being a dice. Also, once again, no one ever talks about the competition. We never want to talk about the competition, man. Why do you think a lot of these teams didn't win back-to-back championships? Because the goddamn teams that they were going against, man, were absolutely great. They were borderline dynasties themselves. So these are the things we have to mention. And the example I'm going to give you is the Chicago Bulls when Scottie Pippen took over and when Michael Jordan left. What do a lot of people say? Oh, look what the Bulls did. Look how good the Bulls were when Michael Jordan left. And they give you some weird number of how many less wins they had when Michael Jordan left to somehow show you and prove that Michael Jordan wasn't that important to the Chicago Bulls' greatness. But what are they doing there? They're once again lowering the standard there. Because what are they forgetting? They're forgetting the consistency of the Bulls. So when Michael Jordan left, it's not about the wins that they didn't get or did get or where they got knocked out in the second round. Because the Bulls went from a second round knockout when they were a dynasty. They had went to 5 straight Eastern Conference Finals, 5 consecutive Eastern Conference Finals with Michael Jordan. He leaves and they get knocked down in the second round. So once again, where's the consistency there? It wasn't there. This is why the Bulls are a dynasty. This is why these other teams are dynasties. So these are things that we must remember. We talk about the competition. We talk about some of these teams. Now, when we talk about the Boston Celtics, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Oklahoma City Thunder, listen, the Oklahoma City Thunder haven't got a goddamn thing, man. They've done literally nothing, man. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they've done even less. They've done nothing. Now, if you want to say that the Oklahoma City Thunder have the best player out of all 3 of those teams, so they have the best potential to be a dynasty, then maybe you can hope and wish that. But once again, Nick, you alluded to some of the problems with the NBA. Are these guys going to stay together? Are these guys going to be on the court? Chet Holmgren went down with a serious injury, man. Is he ever going to be the same? Is he going to be able to come back and really have that same impact, man? Are these guys going to re-sign up and things of that nature? The only team that could even be mentioned to maybe have been a dynasty would have been the Boston Celtics. But what's the key word here? Consistency. They haven't been that. So they've lost series to the Miami Heat. They've lost series multiple times to the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat have went to more NBA Finals than the Boston Celtics, or just as many as the Boston Celtics have, man. So are the Miami Heat a dynasty now? Because no, once again, the consistency's not there for a team like that. You guys remember what Jimmy Butler said last season and why Pat Riley got mad at him? What did he say when the Boston Celtics beat the Miami Heat last year? He said they're lucky that I wasn't there. And why did he say that? Because he knows the Boston Celtics ain't like that, man. He don't believe in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They're not like that. They've been known to underperform in the big moments. So a team like the Boston Celtics, even though they've been to several conference finals since 2018, a lot of people forget the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals against LeBron James, Cleveland Cavaliers in 2018. They were actually winning that series, if I remember correctly, 3-2. And LeBron James somehow managed to come back, and that was the whole Kyrie Irving season. So to me, the Celtics would be a team that you can maybe say would have been a dynasty, but they haven't been there. Oklahoma City has the potential to do something, but they've done literally nothing. And when you talk about the numbers that they're putting up this season, can we all agree that the Western Conference is taking a one giant step backwards this season? It's an absolute joke, man. We must be real here and be honest about those facts, man.
All right.
Again, Robin, all I'm looking at is you can look at competition in the 80s, but you can't look at competition today. You and I are constantly in disagreement, not even just because we're not identifying or defining things the same way. Like you and I basically agree, but I'm looking at just the teams today against the competition today. I'm not saying the Thunder are better than any of the teams in the 80s. I'm not saying they're better than the Bulls, Robin. I'm saying I'm saying we're looking at their dominance against their peer set. That's what we're looking at. Robin, they're all like 26 years, 25 years old.
Oh, come on. See, there goes the excuses.
They're at the beginning.
Let AOH go. Let AOH go.
They're at the beginning. Did Jordan win when he was 24?
You keep interrupting. Everyone goes, and then you have a question or say something. Let my man AOH go.
Because you screamed for 5 minutes about what I said, and you're not listening to what I'm saying.
I win my turn, Scap. You keep talking. You've talked a billion times. I win my turn. Let AOH go. Why are you making a big deal about this? You're so sensitive, man. Don't get sensitive.
Oh, my God.
Come on, man. Let AOH go.
All right. Hey, what are your thoughts?
I think I'll go smoke a J and come back and just enjoy the entertainment.
Insane, man.
We got a weird combination in the NBA right now of lack of competitors combined with their egos, which, like Hoops God was saying, you don't, these guys are as likely to go join up with another superstar because it's an easier path as they are to then get butthurt that they aren't the main man after doing something like that. I mean, tell me that's not lunacy right there. And be like, oh, wait, I'm not the main man, or this guy next to me has a contract negotiation that's bigger than my contract negotiation after they did the cheap shit move of trying to super team it up. So I don't know how you can ever expect a dynasty in a league like that. I mean, what a weird group of guys to be leading teams. Now we have a couple of examples that might be leaders, but we don't know yet. We don't know when they're going to get butt hurt. When the Thunder finally get some media like they should be getting, is Shea going to, rocket out of control? Even the Cavs aren't getting the media that they should be getting. And we should defining dynasties, just so we know how people think in this group, get a show of hands or whatever of how many people think that the Warriors were a dynasty.
Little hand right here, because I can't.
Yeah,
I can't.
I'll give him. Yeah, I'll give him that.
Yeah.
I mean, the league certainly wants to pretend that they were to make it interesting when Curry and LeBron match up. But I'll go back to talking about Cleveland a little bit, because Nick's opening actually wasn't that bad today. But I want to hone in on one part.
Thank you.
You said Donovan Mitchell isn't the guy to take the Cavs there, and maybe that's true. I'm just curious how confident you are in Luka, as talented as he is. What is it about him that makes you say he is a guy that can get you through the finals compared to a Donovan Mitchell?
Well, definitely. I think Luka is probably a better 1 to 3 scorer in a way. I would say he can probably get a multitude of shots or get to his spot better than Mitchell can in a possession. I think his passing is much better as well. I think that's probably undisputable. But essentially, I also he's also been to the finals already, right? In a Western Conference Finals before that with a completely undermanned team. I think he has shown more than Mitchell has in a shorter amount of time that his ceiling is higher. And remember, they played each other when Mitchell was at Utah, and Brunson was like our second best player coming off the bench behind Luka, and he beat them in 5 or 6 games, right? I think the body of work is there. I think when they play each other or how far they've taken teams is there. The only thing I worry about, of course, with Luka is him staying healthy, which, I can't control that. But taking that outside of that, I think Luka's better in almost every way, of course, except for the defensive end, right? So that would be my answer.
We got a lot of talented guys in the league. I think what we see lacking the most, the X factor that's lacking the most, is the proper mentality. So maybe I wanted to see if you think that Luka has the proper mentality.
Yeah, he's got to stop complaining and making excuses, and he needs to play through it, right? Dirk went through this kind of process as well. Everyone hates that. I hate it more than anyone. Him not getting back on defense sometimes when he's complaining drives me absolutely insane. But to think that he is not willing to go further than you to win in a basketball sense, I think Luka's up there with anybody, right? So, yes, he has some flaws with his mental game, but I think ultimately his mind and attitude is in the right place, if that makes sense.
And finally, the last part of that, and the whole idea of like how the Thunder have built this crazy squad. Sports and fitness, you're probably the best person to answer this. How exactly did New York lose Hartenstein? Just to bring in Towns?
No, it's like you mentioned, AOH. I'm not going to keep going, man. It's like you mentioned, man. That's the problem with the NBA right now, man. It's the inconsistency with the rosters.
Yeah,
Scap, I think you hurt his feelings. I've never seen Robin this downtrodden.
I was going to piggyback on that a little bit to ask Scap that Holmgren has a team option, I think, this year and next year. They probably will lose Jalen Williams as well in a couple years. So even if let's say they go back to back this year and next, do you think that same group of guys is going to be there? I don't know how they hold on to Chet, I guess, in my opinion. He's going to demand a lot of money.
I mean, it's going to be yet to be seen. If Oklahoma City wants to cheap out, if they don't want to go into the second tier of the apron and take on the luxury taxing, then okay. I mean, we saw, look, they cheaped out once before when they had what I thought was going to be a budding dynasty. I'm very critical of Kevin Durant. I have been critical of Russell Westbrook. I am the utmost critic of James Harden. But if they kept those three guys together, they would have won multiple championships. They just would have. They cheaped out. They didn't get anything out of it. They got not a single title because they cut bait and they ran too soon. So did they learn that? Did they learn anything from that? And are they going to be willing to take the punitive actions from the league in order to keep the core of this unit together? And we didn't even talk about the fact that the Thunder have a myriad of picks stored up. They have a lot of draft collateral right now that several other teams don't. That's when I look at the totality of what the Thunder have lined up, it's all I'm saying that they have the potential. And because you asked me directly, so I was just going to not talk for a while because Robin's obviously so sour and pouty about everything I say. So I was just going to give it a rest. But since you brought me back in, I just want to say this. We're all critical of this era on this panel. All of us. I literally built whatever platform I have right now on being critical of this era. I don't like it. But when you just dismiss every single thing that's happening now and shit on every single team and say, oh, well, they can't be better than the 80 Celtics or Jordan, like you're delegitimizing yourself. You are taking your opinion out and you're making every other point that follows does not make sense, Robin. Like I can critically evaluate the teams today and still think that the teams that came before them were better. Okay? I don't know what you're laughing about. Like, why can't you just look at the competition set today and how dominant these teams are? Like, take a look at this, Robin.
I want you to answer one question, and you want to run your mouth and bring me involved again. Answer the one. You can't ever answer a question. I want you to tell me the one thing the Oklahoma City Thunder have done. What have they done? They haven't done anything for you to talk the way you were talking. You talk about, I'm talking objectively, and I'm not talking about the 86 Celtics. All I asked you is, what have the Thunder done? They've done literally nothing. What I've told you is that the Boston Celtics are more qualified to be mentioned with the word dynasty. You're talking about down the road, hoping somewhere, down a yellow brick road. They've done literally nothing to even thing. And then what do you say? Oh, they're only 26, 27, 28 years old. So this what legitimizes you, because you always have an excuse. It's either the age, how long they've been in the league. There's always something, they don't have enough help. There's always an excuse. What I'm telling you, and you don't seem to understand, when you start talking about the numbers, the SRS is the great in history. You're talking historical perspective, Scap. You're bringing up history, dude. And what am I telling you? No one wants to hear about your stats and historical perspective because the stats are all skewed right now. You sound ridiculous, man. That's all I'm saying. The Thunder have done nothing and won nothing. You're talking about what SGA could be. We all know he's a great player. They've done nothing. When are he's going to do something? When are you going to put the pressure on somebody? After they've been in the league 10 seasons? So teams draft guys. They go to college for 1 year, maybe. And then you have to wait 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years for guys to develop sometime down the road, man. So you sound ridiculous. I said earlier, the Cleveland Cavaliers were a quality team. Why? Because the guys that they have on their roster have been together for 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons now. You have quality players playing their roles. That's what I said earlier. And once again, what did I say about the Celtics? Are they proven? Are they a proven team when you're out there shooting 53s a game and your games and wins are predicated on you making those shots? They shoot 36%, the Celtics. They're middle of the pack this season in three-point percentage, although they shoot 9 more than the next team in 3 points a game. How is that going to make you a dinosaur or help you win games or be all-time great? Yeah, so you're winning some games in this league, Scap, because this league is going to take a giant step backwards, man. Please understand this. Listen, man, I'm legit, man. What I do on my channel, Scap, you can't touch me, man. You can't touch what I do, dude. You couldn't come on the camera and spit what I spit and do what I do. You have to have the graphics and all the fancy stuff and look up all the numbers. I got the facts because I watched the game, man. Once again, I'm educating you and everyone else out there. Don't take it personal. I got the facts, Scap.
Are you done? You asked me several questions and made several statements.
One question.
You asked me several questions and made several statements, and I sat and listened to it all. So now, again, I'm just asking for the similar courtesy that you sit there and listen to what I have to say.
Answer it.
You are such a brash, obnoxious loudmouth. You literally cannot shut your mouth. You can't shut your mouth unless I sat there and listened to everything you said. And then literally within the first sentence, you have to scream and yell and interrupt me. What I'm trying to say is I bring up historical context. Can I finish a statement without you?
Who's talking, Scap?
I bring up these things not to compare them to other teams. I bring them up to compare how dominant they are to the teams they're playing now. Okay? Right now, in terms of net differential, the 3 top teams in NBA history are the 71 Bucks with Kareem and Oscar, the 72 Lakers with Wilt and West and Goodrich, the 95-96 Bulls that won 72 games, then this year's Oklahoma City Thunder, then the 2016-2017 first season with Durant Warriors, then this year's Cleveland Cavaliers. Am I saying that the Thunder this year are better than those teams or would beat those teams? No, but I'm saying comparatively, what they're doing to their peers right now is on a historical level of dominance that those other teams were on. That's it. Finally, I'm not saying any team is a dynasty right now. I said that in my opening statement, Robin. If you would listen once in a while, if you would open your ears and pay attention, you would know that I prefaced all of my statements with the fact that no team qualifies as a dynasty right now. Okay, so the show's 2 minutes long. Robin, let's go around the group. No one's a dynasty right now. Then the show's over at 12:10.
Scap, you still didn't answer I'm just waiting for you to answer the question, my man.
What I'm doing is speculating on how good the teams are now, what they look like from a roster build, what they have, and what their future can be. That's what this show is about right now today. Do you understand that?
Listen, do
you understand? Finally, hold on. Finally, let me turn it up.
Didn't Giannis go to the finals? Did he not? Nikola Jokic has been to the finals. All these other guys have taken their team to the finals, to the conference finals. SGA hasn't done a goddamn thing, and you still haven't answered my question. What have the Thunder done, Scap?
Finally, as I try to finish my final statement, I can't do what you do. Bro, I will eviscerate you in any platform, head-to-head on any topic. Don't tell me I can't do what you do. I'm doing what you do right now 10 times better than you do it, my man.
Stop it, Scap. Stop it. You can't touch me, man. You know it.
I just blew you to pieces every week I've been on this show.
Dude, you sound ridiculous talking all this time. Are you kidding me? You didn't even answer the damn question because you know I'm right. They haven't done a damn thing.
We're speculating here. This is does the next dynasty exist now? Will they become it? There is no such thing as a dynasty right now, Robin. I already said that.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen.
We're almost ESPN. Cool.
Yeah, gentlemen, let's move on a little bit and please try to avoid the personal shots. I think we could all call each other friends here. I'm going to say my piece before we get into the super chats that have come through. I think that there's the potential of the dynasties between the Thunder and the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think they're doing absolutely amazing this year. I think both teams last year did very, very well in comparison to what they have been doing in the past, generally speaking. However, to agree with what some other people were alluding to, the evidence isn't quite there yet because there have been very, very good teams that have won 50, multiple 50-plus win seasons, over 60 win seasons, and then it all falls apart in the near future. So for me to put the crown on either of these, or the potential crown, however you want to identify it, I need to see some deep playoff runs. So neither of these teams have gone to the NBA conference finals on either side respectively for whatever part they're in, the Eastern or Western Conference. For me, I got to see them go and have some version of a run that's going to show some evidence that they can take it the next step further. Because to me, the bottom to even be considered a potential dynasty is to have a conference finals appearance. Neither of the, I know Thunder did, but they had the appearance, but they didn't win it. So if I had to say in between these two teams, I'm going to put more stock in the Thunder. Now the Cavs, again, they're on this run in respect to the record that they could potentially achieve as of right now, with on set to have over 70 wins, and that's thrilling. And it's not to say that they can't win the finals or the Thunder can't win the finals this year. However, as of right now, I have not seen the evidence that they've been able to make a finals appearance and to show that they have the potential to continue doing so. So as of right now, I'm going to say, I'm going to pull a Nick here. And I'm going to say, I don't know yet. However, if I had to say teams that have shown evidence that, if I had to say right now, could be potential dynasties, I would go with the guys that came in next year. Last year, I would talk about the Celtics, who've been making consistent finals appearances over the last X amount of years. And then the Dallas Mavericks, who went to the finals last year, who still have a strong core of guys. And not to say that the Thunder and the Cavaliers don't have a great core of guys that could potentially be good. To me, I want to see more evidence in a phrase. So right now, I would say, if I have to put my nose on it, I would say no, because outside of the Thunder, maybe. Thunder, not the Cavs yet. I cannot say yes for the Cavs. The Thunder, maybe. But otherwise, yeah.
I would
what's up?
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I would propose to Scap real quick. I would say the Celtics have a better chance of becoming a dynasty than the Thunder. Maybe you disagree with that, but they've already got one in the bank. They have, in my opinion, what looks like right now a sort of very top-heavy East. They maybe have one or two contenders that they have to deal with. It's not quite as crowded. And also, they have Jaylen Brown for the next 4 years, Tatum until 2029, 2030, Derek White for the next 4 years. They still have that core group of guys who I know are going to be there for at least 4 years. They're already locked in. They have Porzingis this year and next. We'll see what happens with him. But Horford's coming off the books this year as well. Maybe he comes back for 1 year, maybe not. But I think the Celtics are actually set up much more nicely than the Thunder. Maybe you disagree with that.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't give any pushback on the Celtics. I called last week or the week before. I said they were in historical footing if they defend their championship this year. I don't think they will, but we'll see. The problem with Boston to me is I think Boston has been the best team in the NBA for several years. And it took last year for them to win one title when literally the entire conference got hurt. They could not have gotten a better, more easy collection of teams to get into the finals. And then, look, I thought Dallas was probably going to beat them in that finals, the way Dallas was playing and how hot they were coming in from the West. To me, look, Luka completely choked in that final series. I mean, say what you will. I was expecting more. It was bad, yeah. I was expecting more from Doncic. For them to only get one game was pretty humiliating. And credit to Boston for winning one challenging series in the finals. But I think, again, Luka kind of shut it down. So while Boston has this immense amount of talent, I just have to, I trust, I know it's speculative. I'm not saying Oklahoma City has done anything. They haven't, not a damn thing. So I know I'm speculating and I know I'm looking into a crystal ball, but if I had to either pick some speculative team in Oklahoma City or a team that won last year in Boston, I trust the Thunder more already than Boston because they just choke every year. Like they just blow it somehow, some way every year until they had an ideal run established for them last year. And it ain't going to be like that this year. They're going to have to go through actually more challenging teams. The Knicks are playing much better. The Cavs are going to be a real impediment to Boston. They're going to have home court advantage in that Eastern Conference Final Series, if that's what it comes to. And then they're probably going to have a viable team that defends and isn't going to choke it out like Dallas did last year when they get into the finals. So I just don't believe in Boston. I don't like the character of the players, and I don't trust their head coach either.
One last follow-up question, make it quick. What if Oklahoma City loses in the finals or doesn't the conference finals? Let's say they lose in the conference finals or don't even make it to the conference finals. What does that do for your position?
I think there's and I know Robin's gonna yell at me about this, but I think there's no acceptable loss for Oklahoma City. Robin would say there's no acceptable loss at all for Oklahoma City, and
So they have to at least make it to the finals.
And I'm just making excuses for them. But look, realistically speaking, the Celtics have been established for years. They are the established team right now. They are the defending champions. Oklahoma City is just, I know, I don't want to make it sound like I'm making excuses, but they are young. They are up and coming. If they lose to the Celtics in like a 6 or 7 game series in the finals, then I think that's an acceptable loss, so to speak, for Oklahoma City to then use as a stepping stone. They lost in the second round last year. If they get to the finals this year, lose a hard-fought series to Boston, I think that's a good stepping stone for them for next year to win it. If they lose in the West, if they don't clear the West, then that is an absolute unacceptable loss this year. And it is a commentary on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'm ready to start putting criticism on Shai and blaming him for this stuff if they are unable to get out of the West, because no one should stand in their way in that conference this season. So yes, that would change my mind on them, on their outlook if they fail to win the West this year.
I mean, listen, I would give SGA some slack if he lost to the Denver Nuggets and Nikola Jokic went out there and was doing what Nikola Jokic does, and Russell Westbrook was, being that second guy. And, the Nuggets have a quality team. And once again, it comes down to the star players. If SGA and his team lost to the MVP 3 times over, Nikola Jokic, and he was out there balling in the Western Conference Finals, I don't think anyone would turn around and be like, you know what, man, SGA, I don't believe in this guy. We got to blow the team up, man. So I think what you said, you on the money, right? What you've been saying lately, Scap, I got nothing to say, man. You was on the money. You was spitting fire right there, man. Everything you said about Boston, man, everything you were saying about those teams, man, you right on the money right there. And those are the things that we've been alluding to. When I was talking about Boston not really being tested last season during those runs. The Cleveland Cavaliers, when they played Boston Celtics last season, man, they missed Donovan Mitchell for a couple of games, but Jared Allen also didn't even play in that series, man. So that's a huge loss for a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers. When you don't have that down low presence of a Jared Allen, man, that's a huge loss. So, yes, once again, those teams are not tested, man. So you run the money, Scap.
Robin, I love you. I don't want to fight with you, Robin. I do love yelling at you sometimes, but I love you overall.
We had to make sure everybody was awake for the beginning of the show.
I just real quick, and then I'm done. The Celtics also have Drew Holiday for the next 4 years too. I forgot to mention him. That's all I got.
Nice. All right, let's get into some of these super chats. Thank you very much for everyone who super chatted. I just wanted to have a good segue to include this, so I apologize. I hope you all are still here for this to be acknowledged. First, Lumno goes and super chats AOH and for €10 and says OKC might be a dynasty. KD go home for $1 million. What do you have to say about that, AOH?
He'd never do that.
Who might be a dynasty?
OKC. Thunder.
They said KD go home.
For $1 million, no way.
That would be on brand.
If we're going to talk about the Thunder, here's what I want to talk about. Because Scap and Robin hate on KD a lot, which is fine. But it's interesting that the Thunder chose to let part of their core go. The first they lost Harden, and then the next year they didn't look like they were going to make any moves to strengthen the team. And so there was like one article amongst all the hate that went out about KD back when it happened that the organization was not really sending a message to KD that he had a good reason to stay either. Does anyone think that them being cheap and letting Harden go and not continuing to work with that core deserves some blame?
Come on, stop it. I'm gonna first undress this. Then I want Robin to double team you with me. I want Robin on my team on this one. Look, Kevin Durant had the Warriors down 3-1 in the West Finals. With Westbrook, that team was better than the 73-win Warriors. They were all over them. They were not only up 3-1. They were eviscerating them. They were beating them by like 25, 27 points per game to take that 3-1 lead when KD thoroughly choked in that series. Like thoroughly choked. They were up by 12 in game 6 to close it out in Oklahoma City going into the fourth quarter. and KD was like 1 of 7 for 2 points. They lost that game, then they go and they lose game 7. And then he goes and teams up with that team the next year. Get the hell out of here. Like, Kevin Durant deserves nothing but hate. Robin, get it.
I mean, listen, how do I follow up to that, man? Listen, all we need to know is people should look at the rosters that Kevin Durant had in OKC from the time he was drafted to the time that he left in 2016-2017 season, man. Go look at the names that are on those rosters, man. There's a lot of really good players. You guys remember a guy named Derek Fisher? The guy who always came through for Kobe Bryant and the Lakers in the postseason? He was on those Oklahoma City Thunder teams, man.
Buried
There are
Kobe.
guys like Jeff Green, Thabo Sefolosha, Steven Adams, Serge Ibaka. They had all kinds of guys on that team, man. They had talent, man. Like you said, Scab, it was all on KD, man. Oklahoma City Thunder organization don't owe him a damn thing, man. Kevin Durant, don't go back to Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder should never take Kevin Durant back there, man. He bailed on him, man. And don't forget, when he bailed, he allowed everyone to blame Russell Westbrook, man. He allowed everyone to crap on Russell Westbrook when he left, man. He took no responsibility, man.
So I wanted to wrap on that too. I like that young team. I mean, they got to the finals. When Harden went to Houston, I was kind of like, okay, you guys could have kept Harden. Like, I legitimately believe you could have moved Harden to the 2 or to the 1, my bad, and put Russ at the 2, and then kept Kevin Durant, and then just, got some rim runners and some paint protectors. Like, I really hated that they disbanded that team so soon because, like Scap said, you had the Warriors down, 3 games to 1, and I
But
didn't
that was
like the
without
move.
Harden, though. They
Yeah,
had right? Yeah.
I think if you would have kept Harden, they probably would have defeated them. Like, ain't no way they would have came back because you'd have had that third guy, able to step up and, all right, okay, cool. You guys are struggling. I'll take us home. So, yeah, I think that's a one of those what ifs that we never got to see because I like that team a lot. So that's my spiel on that.
Hey, trust me, I was mad that the Warriors beat Oklahoma City, especially once the Warriors did what they did in the finals, because physically I thought the Oklahoma City might be able to match up better.
The Thunder would have beaten the Cavs that year. They would have. The Thunder would have won. They would have won the NBA championship if Kevin Durant didn't throw up all over himself at home in game 6 in the fourth quarter. And then he, like a snake, coward that he is, slithered out of town to join that team the next year. It is such a gutless, pitiful move.
Scap, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but go back and watch a lot of those regular season games between the Thunder and the Warriors. Look how Kevin Durant is talking to Steve Kerr. It's almost like, I know he's not going to do what I think he's going to do. Like, I know he's not. I know he's not going to do this. And then, boom, he's with the Warriors. So, wow.
It's just unbelievable.
It was the right move, though. It worked for him. Kevin Durant isn't the man. We all know Kevin Durant isn't the man, but he is great at being an assassin if he's number 2.
Yeah, he's a good front runner, man. That's what Kevin Durant. He's a front runner. He front run in that series, man. That's what he did, man. He went out there front run.
Grand Finale super chat somebody for $5. Thank you, Grand Finale. I think it was Scap, but I'm unsure. It was on there earlier. Please, again, if you're going to super chat, everyone, please, as the ticker says, please address who you're super chatting because we're multi-streaming this across multiple platforms. And I don't know where it's going because reasons, particularly with software. So anyway, Will N super chats for $5. He said, should the Knicks replace Stibbs with another coach who actually believes in their bench? Yes or no? Again, I don't know where this is going. And Robin, you're the New York Knicks guy.
I think that was from Scap's channel, though, if I remember right. I could be wrong, though. It was like way early
I like
on.
Thibodeau, man. Yeah. And Thibodeau's known for playing his guys a lot when he was a coach of Chicago Bulls, man. Derrick Rose was playing like 40-something minutes a night out there. Guys like Jimmy Butler, Luol Deng. He's known for playing his starters. Jalen Brunson plays a lot of minutes, Carlton Towns. But once again, the thing that I respect about the New York Knicks, at least for once, they kept their head coach there for some consecutive amount of seasons. I mean, my God, that's been part of the problem for the Knicks, man. So keep Thibodeau there, man. Like I said, let's see what they do this year.
I like him. I've always liked Thibodeau. I'm a big fan of his defensive first mentality.
Michael Silberg super chats for $2 and says Memphis Grizzlies were a dynasty with Dylan Brooks.
Look what he's done for Houston. I think Michael's onto something.
I don't know where
Dylan
that's
Brooks.
going, but Hoop God, do you wanna talk on that for a second?
The Memphis Grizzlies were a dynasty with Dylan Brooks. Wow.
Mhm.
I'm really trying to compartmentalize that. So you got Ja Morant, you got Triple J. Now I would have to ask, if you keep Dylan Brooks, you don't get Marcus Smart, because now with Marcus Smart, they have two former depoys on that team. I don't really see it with Dylan Brooks, but I'm gonna be generous and give him one championship. But a dynasty, no. I can't buy what he's selling on that one. So I'm gonna have to return it.
Will N super chats for $10 and says, in some alternative universe, KD, Russ, James, and even Serge would still be together with at least 2 to 3 chips playing for the Seattle Supersonics. AOH, I know that you were old. Yeah, I mean, some of us are in our mid 40s, but you are older than the mid 40s here. How? What are your thoughts on this? There's no direction to this.
Oh man,
it's in the name.
I'll school all of you. I will beat all of you right now.
he's angry and old.
We should get together for a pickup game. That would actually be really, really cool.
And live stream that joint. Word.
Yeah.
You guys don't want that evidence going live. I will fucking make you look stupid.
Hey, let's go to
I'm
Dallas.
ready to do it.
Yeah, man. I mean, that the way they drafted that team. I mean, fucking Steven Adams was even with them. Serge Blocka. And then, of course, the superstars that all went their own ways. I mean, crazy. And Seattle, I don't know what living in Oklahoma City is like, but I got to think that you'd rather live in Seattle if you're an NBA player.
Hey,
sorry, Oklahoma. I don't know.
Real quick question, real quick follow up to AOH. If we played basketball, would your hair stay on, or would you have to spray paint your hair on like LeBron?
Don't ever use my name and LeBron's in the same sentence. It'd be better if LeBron's was painted on. You ever seen any of those high resolution images that show just whatever that weird science project is growing out of his head? Ooh.
Yeah. So Diaz Army super chats for €5. Y'all can argue what you want, but Doncic is coming back and smoking them all. He is still their He is still their daddy. NNB, what do you have to say about this?
I hope so, man. I mean, I definitely think Luka's good enough to get it done. So what sucks is just a matter of his kind of mentally the things we talked about, and he's got to somehow get his the thing is, like, I don't really buy into this, like, he's overweight and fat thing. I think his endurance and his stamina could use some work, yes. But, he plays a little bit bigger. It's just how he plays. But he's got to do something with, I don't know how to put it, just his entire, like, health and his body fitness. I don't know how to put it, but he needs to tweak something. Like, his workouts need to change. He needs to eat better.
Yeah,
but I don't believe this. Like,
fat. Just say it, man.
I don't think he's fat. I don't buy into the whole fat thing. I don't buy into the fat thing.
He's supposed to be a professional basketball player, man. Think about it.
A little out of shape, yes. He could use some work on that, and with that, he probably could lose a little bit of weight. But I don't think he's fat. I don't buy into that. But yeah, man, we just need him to stay healthy. I do think the Mavericks have improved their roster somewhat significantly, especially on the perimeter and with the defense, where the Celtics cooked us last year. So I think they're built for the playoffs. I truly do. The two-headed monster of Gafford and Lively. I think Najee Marshall and Grimes. I think all these guys are playoff built. The way the style of ball that they play. So if we can get healthy at the right time, we're kind of aiming for the All-Star break right now. If we can get on the other side and get Luka back and get people hopefully meshing and whatnot. You know, we were playing really good basketball up until the time Luka got hurt. Even without Luka at times, like there were guys who missed several games here and there, and the whole team just kind of kept rolling, which was nice to see. So I do think we're playoff built. I think we can get back to the Western Conference Finals. I think that's kind of the floor for us if we can get back and get healthy after the All-Star break.
Yeah,
My mom,
I agree with that.
My mom, like you, Nick, says I'm not fat. Like you say, Luka's not fat, but that's what's
He could use a little work, but it's not like he's a mess out there, you know.
You know, the third place in the East and West are equally perplexing. You know, it's the Knicks in the East and Grizzlies in the West. I mean, does anyone, I'm sorry, Robin, if this offends you, but does anyone here think either of those teams are legit contenders despite holding the number 3 spot?
No, I don't.
Isn't that weird? A little bit?
As of now, yeah.
Well, you've got Houston, Houston at 2 and 3, right? Is Houston 2 and Memphis 3, or is it
Houston? Houston, Memphis, Denver, Dallas, Los Angeles rounds out the top 6.
So, I mean, I don't think anybody really believes in either Houston or Memphis at the moment. I think I agree with Nick. I think you can make a case, honestly, that Dallas is probably the most talented team, I think, in the West. I think you can make that case with the two-headed monster, if healthy, of Luka and Kyrie, and then their offseason acquisitions were quite good as well. And they got to the finals last year. I think it would not be a surprise at all to see Dallas in the conference finals. And look, if we're talking about Oklahoma City versus Dallas or versus maybe Denver, I think it's going to take like someone's going to have to outplay Shea, I think. So the guys I think that could do that are probably Luka and Nikola Jokic. So it will take like a kind of a Herculean super kind of a performance in 4 out of the 7 games in that series to get by. And it's not impossible to fathom seeing that happen.
And if Chet cannot get back up to
Eric
where he
C.
was,
Super Chat Scap for $20. And for everyone, when you guys say for all, if you're trying to give money to everyone, for the 1 millionth time, that is not how it works. So please, if you want to super chat somebody, please go to their channel and super chat them. And as a reminder, if you like what we're, please go and subscribe to our channels if you are not already subscribed to us, and you can see our names within our video box as well. So for I think we should take some calls. I don't think we've taken calls for a while. I think we should take a couple calls if you guys are interested, unless you guys want to, unless you have more to say on this topic before we do that.
I was going to say real quick, if Chet doesn't get back to where he was by playoff time, I think the loss of his size is going to be the difference in a series, and they could possibly have an early exit if he doesn't come back and give them what he does well.
I think Hartenstein mitigates it to some degree, which is why that was such a big signing. I mean, it looked in the offseason like it was going to be a great addition, but it has been absolutely essential. Like if they didn't make that addition, they would be really hurting right now without Chet. So I think Hartenstein kind of offsets that to some degree, but I agree, without a fully engaged and healthy Chet, they won't reach the potential in the playoffs. I don't think that this season for sure. So I agree with you there.
I mean, Nick, you mentioned, I'm sorry, you mentioned something about, Luka coming back and hoping that you guys could get the chemistry going, get him back in the mix. See, these are the important things that we're talking about that make you a great team, right? So, yeah, you might have some teams winning some games because they're playing against teams that, their star players low managing that night, or, guys are out because they need to take a rest or they got sore feet, so they're missing games. So teams are collecting some of these, wins that don't mean anything. But when your star players are out with a calf strain and you're talking about his health being a question mark, a calf strain, something like that is going to stay with you, man. Those are the kind of things that are really hard to shake, in the course of a season. So even if he came back and was playing, let's say, he may not necessarily be 100% during the season. Now, we know guys are never 100%, but you're going to be dealing with that all season long. So is he going to be able to play through something like that? Or are they going to be able to build up the chemistry? And this is why I was saying earlier, the NBA has taken a step backwards. Hey, wait, you hit it on the head, man. The New York York Knicks are the 3rd seed right now in the Eastern Conference right now. And once again, I'm not a believer in Jalen Brunson or Karl-Anthony Towns. And I'm not a knock on those guys. They're really good players, man. And the Knicks are a good team. But the Knicks, to me, are not a contender. They're not someone formidable because of the things that they don't do well. And they're not consistent. So when we talk about the Knicks and some of the teams that they've lost to, they should have beaten. They played down to the competition. This has been one of the biggest problems as a New York Knicks fan over the last 10, 15 seasons. They always play down to the competition, man. They lose to teams that they should beat. You're never going to be a contender that way, man. So I'm not a believer in that team, man. And like you said, the Houston Rockets. Who was talking about the Houston Rockets before the season? Is anyone think that they're going to be one of those teams? Because what does it come down to now? Right now, what we're looking at, because there are no great teams, you're talking about who has the best player on the court right now. So who's going to be the best player playing the best? You just said it, Scap. Someone's going to have to go out there and outplay Shea for them to beat them. So, like I said, to me, Nikola Jokic can go out there and do that because he's that guy. So is Luka Doncic that guy? I don't know if Luka Doncic is that guy if he can go out there and do that. Is Kyrie Irving that guy? I don't know, man. Because what Kyrie Irving found out last season, if you hadn't noticed, he was trying to give more effort on the defensive end. He tried to become a better two-way player, Kyrie Irving. But what did that do? It took away from his offensive abilities, man. So these are the kinds of things, man.
Yeah, I think just real quick to slide in. I think if Chet doesn't get back, I think Jokic does have an opportunity 4 games out of 7 to maybe do something special against them if he can get to them. But if Chet and Hartenstein duo tandem, that will be quite a feat if Jokic could do something 4 times out of 7 against that.
If Westbrook stepped up, right? Maybe, you know.
I want to say we got King Speech Row backstage, and if you'd like to call in, I've dropped the link on my channel. If you're on anyone's channel other than mine and NMB Sports, you're going to have to come to mine or NMB Sports channel to hit the StreamYard link to call in. And please, if you'd like to call in as you come to one of our channels, please subscribe to our channels if you like this show in itself or just our material at large. So I'm going to let King Speech Row up for a minute, and then King Speech Row, if you got a question, this is not a hangout panel or whatever. So if you got a question to ask, then you'll be able to do it. But before we get to that, Wisdom Inaki has given a super chat for 1,000 Nigerians saying, "Fitness, don't transfer your LeBron hate energy to Wemby. He's just 21 years old, so let him learn and stop the criticism. It sucks." What do you have to say about that?
Listen, I actually was defending Wembanyama against the Shaquille O'Neal comments from earlier this season when he was knocking Wembanyama for not making the playoffs last year. And I said, well, Shaq, you didn't make the playoffs your rookie season either. My only criticism about Wembanyama this season has been, and I talked about in the video, the Spurs are not as effective when Wembanyama is shooting 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 threes in a game. And I pointed to their record when he shoots more than 7 in a game. They're 8 and 12 when he shoots 7 or more threes in a game. And they're 8 and 3 when he doesn't shoot 7 or more threes in a game. So I thought that pretty much spoke for itself. And when you're that big to be shooting all those threes, to me, that's taking away from his overall game and taking away from the Spurs. It's not hate on. I've never hate on anybody. You know why? Because I got the facts, man, and they know that.
All right, King Speech Row, welcome. Do you have a question or comment for the panel?
Yes, I have more of a comment. So you guys talking about the dynasty, and I've been saying in the chat, salary cap rules. The way the salary cap rules, like teams get, it's pretty much a hard cap. So with the salaries going up and in the apron, the first apron, second apron, you're not going to have teams stick together long enough for there to be any salary. I mean, for there to be any dynasties. I think we're going to have at least a 10-year period. Like, I don't see the Celtics repeating this year. I think somebody's going to beat them in either they catch them in the finals or the conference finals. And I think it's going to be at least a decade-long period, like we had from from the end of the Celtics dynasty till the Lakers repeated in '88. That's going to be like, that was 18 years. I think that was the longest period where we didn't even have a repeat champion. So I think I said this 5 years ago. I said there's going to be no more like 2-piece, 3-piece for a while because of where things were going with the salary cap rules. And teams don't, as you see, teams don't stay together. The Celtics were able to keep most of their team together this year, but generally speaking, with the salary cap rules, you don't have the cores of these teams staying together long enough for there to be any dynasty. So OKC is in good shape because they have a lot of draft picks in addition to a solid core, but I think they need a consistent second scorer. I did say Hartenstein was a steal for my Knicks for the low price of $31 million, but that was a steal. Like, I mean, he's been worth it. Look at the record with him in the lineup. 20-2, right? 21-2 with him in the lineup. So, but yeah, it's going to be hard for dynasties to form because you have no real great dominant teams, but you have a lot of good teams that's going to pick each other off year after year.
Can I real quick reply? I do think it's still possible if you look at the Heat and what they did, right? You can have players, quote unquote, colluding behind closed doors to agree on what they're going to make to be under the cap. If you have an owner who's willing to pay the extra for going into the penalty and things like that, that's also something you need. And then, of course, just getting a good rookie here and there, a guy who can contribute immediately for cheap, or you make a good trade or something of that nature, a guy on a good contract. It's still possible, but I understand what he's saying. Like, you kind of need a perfect storm for something like that to probably happen. But I do still think there are ways to work it where you can get, again, like 3 or 4 almost all-star caliber players on the same team. It could happen. It's just maybe a little less likely these days.
But see, quick rebuttal to that. When you talk about the Heat, you're talking about when the Supermax was about $25 million. The Supermax is about to go up to $100 million. So first of all, there's not going to be anybody that's going to turn out $100 million to go collude to get on a super team. And on top of that, the super team era is over. Super teams don't work. You need a star, and you need a second star, second scorer, and then you need real role players.
Not super teams, but dynasties. Guys,
you
have to make it. You can sign a guy maybe to something close to a supermax, and if 1 or 2 other things fall into place, like, you know what I mean, like, you could build a dynasty worthy team, not necessarily a super team.
Yeah, but you need all the pieces to hit. You really need role players that really know their role. Like, put it this way: the fact that Draymond Green and I saw the Warriors coming, and that was probably the last dynasty we're going to see for a while. Like, Draymond Green was a role player who we now think of as a superstar. He's always had a workable contract. Everybody had workable contracts. Now the money is going to get so absurd that it really is going to be hard. I mean, look, the fact of the matter is the Knicks lost Hartenstein because early bird rights wouldn't allow us to match the $31 million contract that he got from OKC. So it's more complicated than thinking. A lot of teams are just going to turn over. I mean, I think look, most of these champions have only brought 6 or 7 guys back. Back in the days, you would bring back at least you would lose 2 role players at the end of the bench at most. So I don't. Yeah. But that's just Oh, and the Knicks are legit. Trust me, we're gonna get Mitch back. We're missing a couple of elements.
When Mitch comes back, he's never there.
Listen, the best offensive rebounder in the NBA since Dennis Rodman. I know. Listen, you saw what Embiid did. You saw what Embiid did, the ankle lock. Stall him out, Robin, stall him out.
Listen, you hit on 2 points here. You guys hit on 2 points, man, that will destroy the dynasties or things of that nature, the consistency of these teams. You talked about the mindset of the players, right? They want the money. They're playing for the money and things of that nature. So, they might go to a team here, go to a team there. But we also got to talk about the lack of toughness and how much these guys or games these guys are missing. Let's remember the Brooklyn Nets. Remember James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. You guys remember that team? Was that supposed to be a dynasty? They were going to be a dynasty, right? But what happened? These guys were too frail. They didn't have the mindset to really be that kind of team. They were crying about their head coach, and they had Kenny Atkinson there, but they didn't want him there. So they didn't form a dynasty.
You realize that trade?
Say what I'm saying.
I'm sorry.
You remember the Los Angeles Clippers, right? The Clippers, right? Didn't they get Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and James Harden and Russell Westbrook? They had all these guys in the Clippers. What have they done? They haven't done a damn thing because none of the guys were on the damn court. That's the problem right there. So once again, you can put these guys together. You can try to form these teams. You guys remember the Philadelphia 76ers, Dart? You remember when Joel Embiid and Jimmy Butler was there and Ben Simmons was there. You know, all these guys, James Harden was there. Everyone's going to the teams, but they're not on the damn court, man. So once again, it's the health of these guys, the lack of these guys playing, and the mindset of these guys.
See, the irony is that next. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, King Speech. I'm going to say we got other people in the backstage.
All right.
So
No problem.
yep. Thank you for calling. Appreciate you.
All right.
Yo, thanks for calling, man. Much respect.
We've got Jamal here, longtime supporter of the channel. How are you, sir?
I'm all right. I'm doing okay. It just feels weird being 42 because my birthday is January 7th. So I started looking back at a lot of old stuff. And so to see if I can get my appreciation or see if I remember things accurately. And what I have to say is that, and first of all, you guys are some of my favorites on YouTube, you guys in sports team. So I'm happy to be here with guys, with legends like Rob and Scap Attack and all that. But getting to the point, yeah, I mean, while I agree that right now OKC has the makings to be the best chance of being a dynasty only because they have a lot of players organically. So it's not like it's not like they owe all these guys a ton of money other than SGA. I think Jalen Williams will be good, but dynasties and all that, I don't think the league wants dynasties no more because, as you guys are just saying, the salary cap is it's disgusting. And on top of the fact, I mean, after you see what Kawhi did and here in Toronto, and then you see some of the other guys. Yeah, my son is adding his points, but yeah. Long story short, these guys don't even winning. They don't value winning that much. So these guys can win a championship. Back in the days, if you won a championship, you would take a third. You take a third of the money just so you could get a chair. Now these guys are like, no, I want every single penny of my max money. So it makes it impossible. Like imagine if Pippen would have got the contract he wanted, and this was nowadays. And then after the second title, you hear Horace Grant and John Paxson saying, I think I'm owed $35 million. They would have gone nowhere. So between people I think the super team era is over because salaries won't allow it. And I think Golden State was an exceptional situation. Their team had exceptional chemistry, and they added Durant, who's not really a leader like that. So that was perfect. Because it was like Kawhi Leonard going to Toronto, where, you know, they have a system in place and a superstar system player. Not calling them system players, but superstars where they can play in any system. Outside of that, that's not going to work no more. The Clippers situation, I mean, that was a disaster. And we look at it in hindsight, it was a disaster from the start. Doc Rivers was a disaster of a coach. Nobody blows more 3-1 leads. Kawhi Leonard is a disaster of a superstar in a sense he's never on the court. He's not a leader. And Paul George is Paul George. So, I mean, and then when you add guys like James Harden and Russ into the mix, I mean, we don't forget about Russ, but we got guys like James Harden into the mix. Oh my God. And I know Scott, I know Rob is liking this, but yeah, these guys are they're not it, man. And honestly, I would love to see KD come back to OKC for the title run. I just hope he doesn't ruin the team. Like I said, I have very little faith in these guys nowadays. And there's no dynasty. I'm playing 2K right now, and I'm just blowing everybody out. There are no great teams in the NBA at all. So the Boston Celtics are the best team of their era. So the Boston Celtics are the best team of the era. But this is a terrible era. So that's all I want to say about that. So basically, I say all that to say, yeah, I agree with the last caller. I don't think we're going to see dynasties or super teams or anything for another decade. I think we're going to enter a period of wilderness.
Jay, what do you have to say about that? I know there was a discussion about how good you thought that the Celtics were of last year. But in general, what do you have to say about Jamal's comments?
Yeah, I mean, they look, both callers raised good points. I think the NBA has instituted lots of punitive elements into the collective bargaining to make sure that there's more parity. They wanted parity-driven elements within the league because they want all the markets to be actively engaged. So, they want to have more of like an NFL model where a team can go from last to first in their division, so to speak, every year. So I think the NBA is craving that, and there has not been a defending champion for several years now in a row. But I and again, that was just purely speculative by me to start the show and say Oklahoma City, because I think the problem is Oklahoma City is one of the cheaper teams in the NBA, and they've proven that in the past. So there is that question of if, like, when Jalen Williams, for instance, comes due up, like, are they gonna feel comfortable giving him $40 or $50 million a year? I mean, there's a legitimate question to be asked, obviously, about that, but we'll see. They have so many first round picks built up and fortified. I think they can as long as they keep like their 2 or 3 man core, they can kind of reload in an intermediate way, like during the middle of a run. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. I think the thing I like about Oklahoma City is that they defend, like, every position defends. Like, there's not a weak defender, like, even when you go to the bench. So I think they just have a lot of that it factor. Now, when we're talking about dynasties, there's some element of longevity and sustainability inherent with a dynasty. So if they start losing all these players, of course, yeah, you guys are right. Like, there's not going to be anything. I think the Celtics were positioned to at least defend this year, but I don't think they will. So again, that's more evidence that we probably will not be seeing a dynasty for a while to come now.
Yeah, if the Knicks are healthy, they're going to beat the Celtics. I'm sorry to say, just because I just can't see Tatum not choking. I mean, you covered that in great length, Scap, and yeah, I mean, I think last year they got lucky. Everybody was hurt. They were a varsity team in a junior varsity league. Yeah, I mean, this is a weak era, so I just don't see great teams like that popping up. So yeah, that's how
to borrow a term from the young generation these days, Tatum is not him. He has proved this over and over again, that Tatum is not that guy. And he was not forced to be that guy finally last year in the playoffs. So because they really weren't challenged or pushed ever. So they were able to just slide under the radar and win a championship. So I just, like you're saying, there are more impediments this year. There are going to be more roadblocks on their way, and Tatum's going to have to actually be like a viable, great guy when they need it. And I don't know. I think the verdict is out on that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jamal, thank you for calling. Appreciate your support to all our channels.
Yeah. Well,
thanks for calling.
Sorry.
Man.
My bad, Jamal. I cut you off. I thought, anyway. But yeah, so I just want to give a heads up for people for next week. We're expecting Johnny Arnett to join us again. It's been a long time since he's been on. He had some personal things going on with his life. I'm not sure how much was public, so I'm not going to explain that. But for reasons he had things going on where he was unable to join the panel. So we're expecting him to come back. There's no confirmation, so I may bring you up to let you down. However, he should be coming back in the near future. Otherwise, if he's not here next week, and for next week's discussion, I plan on doing a who's greater open panel debate of Magic Johnson or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And I think it's it's one of those contentious ones. Yep. What's that, Scap? You look like you got something on the tip of your tongue.
I was just saying that could be that's going to be maybe a Robin versus Jay element in next week too. I'm just saying, maybe.
But expect that. Also, I have just to do a plug for my channel and for something that's going on with me. I'm going to be doing a debate tonight, and to plug these guys on the Takes Debates Discord channel. You can check them out if you're interested in joining live debates, sports debates with a panel of judges, and just to have the opportunity to share your takes on a Discord channel. You can check them out. I have the link in the description of my last live stream with the Bob Pettit versus Dirk Nowitzki debate. And go check out who officially won at a Casual Sports Fans channel. whenever he releases them. He's been taking a while too. However, I do reviews of the debates. And Nick, I'm sorry for your man, but I think I made a very compelling argument to prove that Bob Pettit is greater than Dirk Nowitzki. But yeah. Anyway, besides that as well, before we shut this thing down, do you all have anything else you want to discuss before we move on and shut this thing down?
I mean, listen, I just want to go over some of the Cavs, the Celtics, and the Oklahoma City Thunder, man. When we talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers and why they've been such a formidable team this season, if you look at what they're doing, man, they're the best shooting team in the NBA, man. They shoot not only do they shoot the best from the field, but they shoot the best from three-point range in the NBA. I don't think a lot of people realize that, man. So the Cleveland Cavaliers are a very good team, man. When you talk about what they did to OKC Thunder and you look at what Donovan Mitchell did offensively in that game, he did nothing out there. I think he was like 3 of 16 or whatever he was offensively. Not saying that he had no impact on the game, but offensively, they were able to win that game without their best player putting up any offensive numbers. And that's really what Donovan Mitchell is known for doing, for putting up points. So that really showed you that Jared Allen was able to take over that game, man, down the stretch and dominate down low, man. So the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be a very good team because they can shoot the basketball and they have the cohesion. Any guy can step up. Remember the next night, Donovan Mitchell sat out for rest. The Cleveland Cavaliers were getting hammered by the Toronto Raptors, who are nobody. But you're in the second half of a back-to-back after just playing against the number 1 team. You would think they'd have a letdown. But what happened? They came back. Darius Garland dropped 40 points, man. So what does that show you? This is why I do not believe Donovan Mitchell is an MVP caliber player this season, because I do not necessarily believe he's really that guy to be mentioned with an SGA, a Nikola Jokic, a Giannis Antetokounmpo, because he doesn't have to do as much as those guys have to do on the team. The other guys on the team, they can step up and do these kinds of things. Donovan Mitchell's playing the least amount of minutes of his career. He's taking the second least amount of shots of his absolute career since his rookie season. So what does that show you? Less is more right now with what Donovan Mitchell is doing. So the Cleveland Cavaliers are a very good team. My problem with the Boston Celtics, and I've talked about this, these guys are shooting 53s a game, 49 point some threes a game, 53s a game. And they're shooting, I believe, 8 or 9 more than the next team after them. But they're like 14th in three-point percentage. So you're shooting so many threes, but you're not necessarily elite at knocking them down. Whereas the Cleveland Cavaliers shoot less threes, but they make them at 40% they're shooting. That's insane, man. The Celtics, a lot of times, they shoot themselves out of games. I remember one game, I believe they shot 33s, I believe, in the first half, and they didn't make that many of them. You would think they would make some adjustments and maybe come out the second half and do something else. No, they just continue to shoot the threes. I believe they went like 9 for 53, and they got blown out, man. And these are the problems I have with the Boston Celtics team, man. They have good players, but the things that they do, it's just crazy. Like I said, shooting that many threes to me is not going to get it done.
Just in closing, I just want to give Kenny Atkinson a shout out for the Cavs, what's happening right now, because like Kenny Atkinson he's only had one other stint as a head coach in his entire career. It ended really poorly. He was in Brooklyn. He was essentially fired midway through his 4th season with like a 38% win percentage there. And now in his first year here this is the same exact roster. Like the top 12 minute per game guys right now for Cleveland were all on this team last year. They won 48 games. Now they're going to win like 70. Like it's insane that Kenny Atkinson, whatever he's done, whatever like system he's infused them with now has made them this much better from last year. It's crazy.
Well, and this is something I talk about generally more on my show with Rex on Saturdays. And go check that out, where we kind of deep dive in some of these abstract things, a lot more than here. Not that we don't do it here, but this is something that I always bring up, is that with Kenny Atkinson or just any head coach or any amazing coach or any amazing player, it depends on how it's all integrated together. So when you say that these coaches suck, they're getting hired for reasons, and if they don't perform, a lot of the times it's just because they don't mesh, or a bunch of intangibles, whether it be the players, the management, or the system that they want them to run. There's I can go down a bigger rabbit hole than that. However, but to the point of it is that you got somebody like Kenny Atkinson, who at face value on paper, you would say that he wasn't a great coach. on the Nets, but now he's pulling off a pace of 70 wins. So really, what's the difference? It's not that his coaching, generally speaking, again, it's not to say that he hasn't become a better coach over time since he's left, but to say that he's a drastically different person or that he didn't have the capability to do this back when he was on the Nets, I think is disingenuous if you were to say that. It's just that he just wasn't in the right situation to show off his coaching capabilities. So to your point, congratulations, Kenny Atkinson. You're doing very well so far. Remains to be seen if you'll be a dynasty. but yeah. Anyone else before we start going around the horn to shut it down? Hoop God, you're on mute if you don't realize if you have something to say.
Oh, my apologies. Nah, I'm good.
He probably left. I don't know.
No, I'm still
I
here.
liked.
My apologies.
No. Okay. Anyway, all right. Yeah, and for me too, I'm going to be doing a Dr. J versus Kevin Durant debate tonight. Who's greater? And if you don't know, I'll be siding for Dr. J.
Dr. J, it's too easy.
I think I have.
That's not much of a debate.
Yeah. Well, including ABA too. So it's
definitely not much of a debate. Yeah.
Yeah. NBA would be a little bit more of an uphill battle, but still, NBA only. Excuse me.
No, it's not even close, man. It's not close, Dart. It ain't close, man. See, we must continue to educate the people. Let them know it's not close, guys. Everyone out there in the chat, man. Dr. J and Kevin Durant are oceans apart, man. Oceans. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah. And something was brought up, Scap, that somebody wants to, and I talked about this briefly with you, and I tried talking to FYF briefly on his show yesterday, but he didn't acknowledge it. I think he was just trying to troll Michael Jordan fans a little too much to acknowledge it. But people, because I've been doing these debates, they want to see us debate now. So I think we need to come up with a topic sometime to give the people what they want, a one-on-one closed debate style.
Who wants Robin to shut up more, Scap or Dart? That's a great topic.
Well, as the moderator, it's not just you; it's everyone. So, at times, of course, at times only. But yeah, I know you're down, Scap, to do it once in a while, but just to put it out there. Somebody's saying they want to see Scap versus Robin on Joker. So I think that'd be interesting.
Don't they see that every week?
Every time.
Yeah, they do. They see that every week virtually.
But yeah, I think it'd be entertaining. I know Nick is probably itching to get back into the debates too. I know that's his fix.
That's
just
thing,
depends
man.
what it is. Yeah, it does feel like it's been a while.
You live for that stuff.
Yeah, I love debates.
Yeah. All right. Well, but yeah, thank you, chat. Thank you for all the super chats that you gave, particularly to call all the super chatters out. Alumno 12, Grand Finale, Will N, Michael Silberg, Diaz Army 09, Eric C, and Wisdom and Naki. Thank you for your super chats. Thank you, all the chats from all the channels that we're multi-streaming to. Please, if you haven't subscribed to any of our channels that you like the content that we're providing or the takes that we're giving, please go and subscribe to our channels just to help and support us, and like the video as well if you're going straight to our lives right now to help support the engagement aspect of it. Nick, do you have anything for the people?
Nope. Everybody have a good rest of the day and a rest of the good weekend.
Jay, what do you got to say for the people?
Not much, everybody. Thanks for being here as always. Thanks for having me, Dart and panel. Awesome hanging out with you guys as usual. We got a good football game on here, guys. I'm just saying the Broncos 9-point underdogs are giving the Bills everything they can handle right now. Of course, we've got Hoop God's Cowboy. Never mind. Sorry, Hoop God. We don't have your Cowboys doing anything later. Finally, Robin, nothing but love for you, my guy. Nothing but love. I know we mix it up, but I love you, brother.
I'm lagging if I'm staring awkwardly.
Okay.
Anyway, Robin, you got anything for the people?
Oh no, man! Like I said, another great show, man. I have a great time with you guys, man. Scat, man, I got nothing but mad respect for you, man. A lot of love, man. That's why we do this. If I didn't respect you, if I didn't like you, I wouldn't even go back and forth with you like this, man. You know, you're like my new Rex, man. You can ask Dart, man. When I first started doing these shows, man, me and Rex, we'd be yelling at each other every episode, man. It was just me and Rex going, man. So me and you, you know, we're like, my brothers from another mother, so to speak, man. You know, Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker, man. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, much respect to everybody in the chat, man. Thank you very much. Anyone who donate to our channels, you guys come through the Sunday live stream, man. It really means a lot to us, guys. You know, you guys come in and you guys like value what we have to say and our opinions and things of that nature. So thanks everybody once again. Hope everybody's a great rest of their day, man. And I'll catch all you guys on the next one, man.
Absolutely. And again, thank you guys on the panel for joining every weekend. And again, particularly the chat, you guys make the show, for joining and tuning in and engaging with us. So thank you for your participation as well in the super chats, as I mentioned before. And most importantly, Michael Jordan fans are the best.
Have a good one, guys.